An event called the Transfiguration began to enlarge the disciples' understanding of who Jesus is. It became clear to them that he's much more than a miracle worker or a teacher, much more than a moral man. Behind me in the fog is the Church of the Transfiguration atop Mount Tabor. From here you can see across the expansive region of Galilee, from Nazareth and Megiddo to Tiberias and the Sea of Galilee. Once Jesus was transfigured before his disciples atop the clouds on the mountain, a whole series of events began to make it increasingly clear that he was on his way to Jerusalem and his eventual death.
Jesus goes to the top of a mountain, and he's got his inner three, Peter, James, and John, who are there with him. And as they go up to the top, it's interesting, it starts as a prayer experience, that Jesus is there to pray, and while he's praying, something strange happens. Some guys show up who didn't walk up the hill with him. Moses and Elijah somehow appear on the scene.
The clothes are glowing, the lights are flashing. People who we have heard about that are the great legends are all of a sudden there. And they have a conversation that is for their ears only, apparently. It's certainly not for the readers of the gospel. But because of that conversation, we now have a deeper appreciation for what's going on in Jesus' head, in his mind, in his imagination, in his dreams, in his thoughts.
Jesus is talking to Moses and Elijah. He's talking about his departure, I think is what most of the translations say. If you look at it, it's probably the same word that gets used. Jesus' impending exodus that was about to take place in Jerusalem.
We see Peter always trying to insert himself. And like all of us humans, he's standing on a mountaintop with his two other guys, James and John, and all of a sudden this phenomenal thing takes place. And he says, well, let's do something. And Jesus said, just take it easy.
It tells us that there's some confusion, that Peter maybe doesn't get it, even though he's the one who's experiencing this, that he doesn't even know what to say about what it is that just has been experienced. He comes up with a bright idea to build some tents or to build some dwellings for them to stay there. And of course, we hear that voice that comes from heaven again. We get that same refrain, this is my son, the beloved or the chosen one. Listen to him, that we hear that same refrain that got used in his baptism, that something similar is happening here, that Jesus is getting a chance to relook at his ministry, relook at his activity in the world, that he gets two of the best counselors that have ever showed up on the scene, that Moses and Elijah, those two guys who had a special relationship with God, are the ones who are going to offer that counsel, give him that guidance, give him that wisdom.